Welcome, Coral Reef Aquarium School Basic. I wanted to make a final episode, or possibly a feed forward episode, where I do follow up on the tank that I proposed to be a startup tank, and what was my experience and learnings past that tank. Now, as you see in the background and while shooting, the tank is still running and the fish is still there. But now we're really approaching the next project, which will sit on actually behind my shoulder here, a much larger tank. So the fish are about to go out of this system. Now, this tank now, at the time of when I'm shooting the video, has been running for 9 to 10 months or something, close to 10 months actually. And what I used the tank since I stopped was to use it for propagating frags or fragmentations from my other tanks or systems, because this tank has actually run quite well. Good light and the good stability in the tank, and it has been propagating frags or coral colonies quite well. But I have done some learnings or some improvements. First of all, the setup and the maintenance schedule, which I proposed in this Coral Reef Aquarium School, it actually did work quite well, and we were managed for 2 times to overgrow the tank with SPS, in particular the bird's nest, and also eventually the Stylopura, which is part of the bird's nest. But that said, I think it was a very robust and user-friendly maintenance, but what we can do is we can do better. It was a very basic approach, very easy and very robust, but we can do better. And one of the episodes which I actually posted for my Reef blog, I will link it down in the description, is when I transitioned my Reef blog from low-tech nano reef to actually high-tech. And what happened was that I started I took the effort to start doing some proper measurement again. So I started taking measurements, starting to measuring trace elements. Trace elements was calcium, magnesium and carbonate hardness, and also started measuring the main nutrients level, being phosphates and nitrates. And you see here on the picture which of the tests that I did use, and that also went for this small fragmentation tank. And I think that is the next step which I would have any beginner start considering, is start mastering the techniques of measuring your trace elements and also nutrients level. And what I learned doing that in my tanks, the tanks that I was running, was actually that quickly growing or overgrowing with a bird's nest, they actually absorbed quite a lot of the carbonate hardness for the complete week. So that means that when I had the highest growth, actually it started going paling, because carbonate hardness, it started jumping up and down. And also going pale was that I was keeping a little bit too low nutrients level, in particular the nitrates. So when I started measuring this tank, I realized that okay, I need to tweak or improve, or I can improve actually. I didn't have to. These robust or basic beginner-friendly corals, they actually worked, but I can improve to keep a little bit more tougher corals. And the improvement I did was, I actually, to get my nutrients level up, I started to do less water changes. So I started changing every 2nd week. And then I started feeding more. I started feeding frozen food, in particular mysis shrimps frozen. and that also added some amino acids to the LPS corals, so actually they started propagating and growing faster and coloring better. That was one step. So less water changes and feeding a little bit more. The second one I did was, so every second week I started measuring my trace elements and nutrients level, and then I also started supplemental dosing for carbonate hardness. 2 to 3 times per week I added some carbonate to the water to try to level. Instead of having the carbonate jumping from 16 in carbonate hardness down to possibly 6, 4 even, I started stabilizing, keeping the carbonate between 7 and 8. And then actually in particular on the Ceratopora guttatatus, no sorry, the Caliendrum, we had a Ceratopora Caliendrum in the tank. That one started coloring a lot better, which you can see on some of the frags from that one, which I'm still keeping. They're actually now very much turquoise. Higher nitrates levels and higher, more stable carbonate hardness. We're getting better coloration. Okay, so let's comment a little bit on what you're seeing on the tank below, or tank in the back. Now you will see at least 2 corals not doing so good, and also you will see some brown nuisance algae which I'm fighting. And what happened here was that 2 weeks ago I had to move this tank, and I did it in a way which I don't recommend to anyone, but I took my chances and took the risk. So I actually just drained the tank as much as possible, and then I lifted it with a rock in, which is like really daring, but all in all it went quite well. But doing this move I had the bird's nest. You see the pink bird's nest, it was exposed to too long out of the water, so it took some tip damage. And then on top of that I actually also cleaned out the pumps, or to increase the circulation, and then I released some nutrients into the water. So I did get a spike and some brown gunk algae, which you see also covering the tip now and on the bases on some of the fragmentations. And then you also see one of the trumpet corals. It is not doing so good in the front, and it comes, this one comes from another system which has starved a little bit too low in nutrients, so it's starved, and I think it needs more amino acids to actually do well, this coral. So that's why I put it in here, because trumpet corals, they're doing quite well here in this tank. And then you can see also that there's a yellow watchman goby. So to summarize, I think what we did in the course, or what I put together, I think proven it in the course that it works very well. But that is, it's basic and it is robust and it's an entry ticket, but you can do a lot better. And I think the next step for any beginner would be to start exploring measuring trace elements and nutrients, and then possibly to do a little bit less water changes. With that said, I thank you for your attention. I wish you a pleasant evening, and we will see you, or possibly if you follow this on YouTube, in my next project, which I'll actually present very soon. So you have a good evening. Bye bye.